We just arrived in Carmelita this morning for the start of what will be a 6-day trek into the jungle. It's about 10:30 in the morning. We just had some breakfast here in Carmelita. We're ready to head off. El Mirador is a really big archaeological site. It was one of the biggest Mayan cities in this area. Actually, this whole area was really densely populated, so there's dozens of archaeological sites. But today we're heading to one called Al Tintal, which is about 18 kilometers from here. We kind of skipped over our journey getting to Carmelita this morning. It was a bit of a disaster, really. We were in 2 vehicles, and let's just say that one group didn't make it. I feel like we may be jinxed when it comes to transporting Guatemala. So we were in the pickup truck and the other group was in that minibus. From what we can gather, I think the axle has broken. Thinking about using a tree to kind of reinforce it. I'm not quite sure that fix is going to work, so they've crammed a few extra people into the pickup. Ben and this guy Patrick are in the back here. It's a 3-hour journey in total, and we were probably just over halfway. So they're going to drop us off in Carmelita and then go back for the rest of the group. So the rest of the group will probably be a couple of hours behind us. And maybe they'll catch up a bit, but probably arrive a little bit later than us as well. Quite surprised to see this field of ferns. The forest has actually been quite different to how I expected up to this point. We're actually walking through quite a huge protected area called the Maya Biosphere Reserva. It's over 20,000 square kilometers. It extends up to the border with Mexico in the north and Belize in the east. We're here in the dry season at the moment, even though there has been a little bit of rain over the past few weeks, not nearly as much as in the summer. And look at all these caterpillars. Understood the guide correctly, I think they're just about to hatch. The place with the caterpillars was our lunch stop, so we're just over halfway, I think. These are the mules carrying our stuff. And at the back here is Ingrid, our cook. This trip's organised by a local cooperative that are based in Carmelita. We've got a couple of guides and a couple of mule handlers and a couple of cooks, and they're all locals as well. That's our camp up ahead. I have to say I'm very pleased to see it at this point because I'm feeling a little weary. I could do with a bit of a sit down. This is the sleeping area. The tents are actually pretty big and they've got mattresses in as well. Hi, so we've just got 20 minutes for a drink and some fruit before we head off again. The guide's going to show us the archaeological site and then we're going to watch sunset from one of the pyramids. We've just climbed up the largest pyramid at this site, which is 50 meters high. And wow, what a view! Just trees as far as the eye can see in every direction. Well, it really is an absolutely stunning sunset. When we got back to camp, the other group were there. They weren't all that much further behind us, I don't think. So we've just had a spot of dinner. It's not going to be very long before I turn in for the night. I'm pretty exhausted today. We were up pretty early again this morning. Breakfast was served around 6 and we set off around 7. Really only starts to get light around 6:30, so we can't set off much earlier. Today's walk takes us north all the way up to El Mirador, which is the big archaeological site, and we'll camp there. It's around 25 kilometres today, so I expect it will take us all day to get there. We've just stopped for a spot of lunch, so I expect that means we're just a little over halfway now. Enjoying the hike so far?
It's been great.
Oh, there's a little baby up there. Yeah.
One of our fellow hikers has nicknamed this place City of the Dead because it really stinks. And there's no bridge across this river, it's just loose branches thrown down. Not looking forward to trying to cross this. I definitely do not want to fall in. We're broadly following the old Mayan road to El Mirador. It's just so muddy that we've carved new paths sort of crisscrossing it. Lynn's found a snake skin. We're approaching the El Mirador site and we're starting to see some ruins and quite a few tombs, which is what this is. Oh my lord.
Oh shit.
Well, he's stuck.
Stood for 2,000 years until I did that.
Okay, no way am I going in there. I don't think it's much further to the campsite now, which is good because I'm pretty knackered again. And here we are. Looks like a similar setup to last night with the tent set up under a roof. It's great having quite big tents and mattresses as well. That area in front of us is the kitchen and dining room. Once again, we had a short sit down, a drink and some fruit, and now we're off again. Quite pleased our sunset spot for tonight is pretty close to the camp. You just have to get up these steps. It's 55 metres to the summit of this pyramid, which is called El Tigre, the tiger.
How you feeling?
Good.
I'm really enjoying a bit of a sit down after that and watching this hummingbird flitting about amongst the flowers.
If we put a good pace, we can get there before the 20th, before Trump.
Once again, it's a pretty stunning view from up here, and trees just as far as the eye can see in every direction. You see the dragonflies flitting about. As we walk back to camp, we can just see all these eyes catching the torchlight and looking back at us. Just thousands of spiders everywhere.
Hay más agua cuando se ocupe eso.
Gracias.
¿Ah?
Más
Sí,
agua.
estos están juntos.
This is our shower for the evening.
Oh my god, I'm so looking forward to having a shower, but this is
Un poco básico.
Last night my dreams were full of spiders. It really was a bit creepy seeing so many of them yesterday. Camp's pretty quiet this morning because everyone else got up around 4:30 to watch the sunrise. We opted not to. Sure, it was lovely, but so was not having to get up at 4:30 this morning. The cooks tend to throw the fruit and veg scraps out, and these turkeys seem to really love them. This morning we're having a tour of the Mirador site. It's a pretty big site, about 10 square miles, and thousands of buildings, not all of them excavated, but including around 35 pyramids.
Tenemos dos doctores.
Yo soy uno.
Our last doctor cannot go there.
Planning to, yeah.
Ahí nomás porque yo me voy a pasar al otro.
I think this city reached its peak between 300 BC and 100 AD. No one's quite sure why the civilization collapsed, but one theory is that it was due to deforestation. It's amazing to think of it now, but this whole area was completely deforested at that time. This is the secret entrance to the pyramid. The priest would have entered without being seen, climbed up a ladder inside, and then appeared as if by magic at the top of the pyramid. They only sacrificed the people they thought would please the gods the most. So their best sports players or their best warriors were sacrificed here on this altar. More stunning views from the top of this pyramid.
¿Puedes? Tiene fuerza.
We'll come back to camp. We're having a spot of lunch. There's quite a bit of wildlife right around the camp. These coatis are perhaps also after some of the food scraps. These howler monkeys were really going for it last night at about, 2 or 3 a.m. There's a big group of them right above camp. Goodness, they can be noisy.
A woman's work is never done.
We've got about an hour before our next little excursion out. I'm really enjoying lying in the hammock and listening to the howler monkeys. I just love the noise. We're off at the second part of our tour around El Mirador.
Ahí se echa de ver dónde estaban los mascarones. Aquí había uno, allá arriba el otro, allá el otro. 3 mascarones.
It really is such a cool place. I love imagining it in its heyday with great big plazas and pyramids and crowds of people. We've come to the biggest pyramid here for the sunset tonight. This one's called La Danta and it's 72 meters tall. One of the biggest pyramids in the world. We're not far from the Mexican border here. You can see Calakmul, which is one of the biggest archaeological sites in the Yucatan in Mexico. Don't think I could ever get bored of watching the sunset from the top of a pyramid in the middle of the jungle. Today is day 4 of our trek. We've just set off. It's a little after 7. There's just 3 people in our group now. The others are all doing a 5-day trek, so they just go straight back the way that they came. We're heading to an archaeological site called Nakbe today. It's around 18 kilometers southeast of here. Apart from me and Ben, the other person in our group is Isabella, who Ben has very aptly named Queen of the Jungle. A lot less people do this route, and it does really feel quieter and less well trodden. Our guide has been pointing out lots of cat footprints. Says this one's a jaguar's footprint. Fairly easy to spot in this muddy path. Because this section is a little quieter, I think if we were going to see a jaguar, it would be on this stretch today. But it's highly unlikely. I mean, they are nocturnal. Having said that, our guide reckons he sees a jaguar about once a month. Not really sure if I actually want to see one in the path, though. I'm quite happy just watching these wild turkeys instead. Just entering the Nakbe archaeological site. Our camp won't be far away. Great, here it is. Always a welcome sight, even though today was a little shorter. It hasn't felt like it. We've had some lunch and a bit of a rest, and now we're off again. Have a look around the Nakbe archaeological site. This site was particularly important because of these limestone quarries. The limestone was used to build many of the big pyramids and temples. Most of the houses would have been made of wood, but here we've got this one made of stone. The raised platform at the back would have been a bed. Apparently this was a house too, so it's pretty narrow, and can't imagine it's the ideal shape for more than one person anyway. I expect this part of the house would have had a thatched roof. That was much more common than the stone roofs.
Acostarte. Como que estuvieras acostada en una hamaca.
Sunset's approaching, so time to head up the biggest pyramid here. I think we're all feeling the impact of the walking so far. That is the El Mirador pyramid that we were up last night. Just a little blip on the horizon now.
How you feeling this morning, man?
Good. Ready for it. Listo.
Siempre.
We're heading to Al Tintal today, which was the camp we stayed at on the first night. It's around 25 kilometres, so reasonable distance again today. We did have the option of walking to La Florida, which would be a different camp and a completely different route. However, that would mean a 42-kilometre hike today. It's just way too much for me. even if I could do that distance, which is doubtful. Definitely couldn't do it during daylight hours. My lovely hiking companion was well up for it. Then again, she also said if she came with her husband, they'd probably just run the whole thing because he was really into running. Nevertheless, it was very nice of her to let us make the decision. I'm so pleased we're here in dry season. Paths are muddy enough as it is, but in wet season you can be wading through mud 50 centimetres deep. This is our lunch stop, which means we must be halfway or so. One of the nice things about the slightly smaller group is that we can set the pace a bit more. And today we've been making sure that we have stops every hour or so, only for a minute or two, just to have a slug of water. Really does make a difference.
In your head, I'm guessing you have a nice comfy sofa in mind.
Hola, it's our last breakfast. How are you feeling?
Listo.
Flores by afternoon.
Yeah.
Soy cerveza.
Y pizza y cama.
Y baño.
El baño. Ducha.
So it's our 6th and final day today. We're heading off early again. It's just 18 kilometres or so back to where we started. I say only like that's not much, it's just relative. There goes the mule train for the last time. I think we all will be very glad to get back actually. It's been pretty exhausting. Well, we didn't spot any jaguars. We have seen plenty of other wildlife, absolutely loads of monkeys. Also plenty of ants and mosquitoes. And of course lots of spiders. We've been teasing the guide a bit today because he's been really inconsistent with telling us the distances. And he always says más o menos, more or less. In other words, he doesn't really know. We've been broadly following the old Mayan roads, which are pretty straight, but because they're so muddy, they've cut paths that weave in and out of them. I think it's for that reason they don't really know the actual distances. Anyway, I think we're almost back at Carmelita, which is the end of the hike. Just another 3 or 5 or 7k, more or less.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Salud. Okay, how do you feel now?
Very good. Muy bien.
Muy bien.
Siempre lista.
Muy aliviada.
¿Y tú?
Cansada.
So that's it. Just 3 hours in the minibus back to Flores, where I am very much looking forward to a shower and clean clothes. It has been a great experience, but I think I'll appreciate it all the more after a bit of a rest.